Let's play a game. What am I thinking of? Something evil, something demonic, something that happened in the past, and it was real. Or so they say. Still can't guess what I'm thinking of. How about I give you some hints? It has to do with a girl, a priest, holy water, Latin, and a lot of screaming. Oh yeah, The Exorcist. But have you heard the story behind the movie? No, not the whole let's sue the priest thing. I mean, the actual story that inspired it, The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Yeah, that's definitely scarier than anything made up by Hollywood. You want to hear it? Here's how it started. It's 1970s Germany, and Anneliese Michel is your typical teenage girl, except she's really into religion. She prays like 3 hours a day, but then her world begins to fall apart. First, she starts having seizures. Then she becomes depressed, and even after visits to the doctor, things get worse. She hears voices, sees demonic faces, and begins acting strange. At one point, she refuses to eat because she says the demons inside her won't let her. So you can imagine everyone's surprise when doctors diagnose her with temporal lobe epilepsy and neurotic depression. But Anneliese's family isn't convinced. They think there's something more sinister going on. And since she's a devout Catholic, they suspect demonic possession. Now I know what you're thinking. This is obviously a movie, and I'll admit it gets crazier. But before we get there, let's talk about why people believe Anneliese was possessed. Well, according to her family, it all started with her older sister getting married. The bride wanted Anneliese to be her maid of honor, but she couldn't go. Why? Because she was busy preparing for her first communion. She was really excited about it too. That is until the morning of the ceremony. When she got home, she started vomiting, foaming at the mouth and convulsing. Her parents rushed her to the hospital, where doctors found nothing wrong with her physically. But soon she would start hearing voices, telling her to do bad things like hurt herself. That's when her parents knew this was no ordinary illness. However, when they took her back to the hospital, doctors found that she had cut herself with a shard of glass. But when police asked her why, she didn't answer. Instead, she stared off in the distance with a blank expression on her face. And that's when her parents realized their daughter was gone, replaced by something evil. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a mental breakdown. But Anneliese wasn't getting better. In fact, things kept getting worse. She started hearing more voices, claiming to be possessed by Lucifer himself. She saw visions of hell, screamed uncontrollably, and even levitated. And she also stopped eating, subsisting only on holy water and wine, which she drank by the gallon. At one point, she went 2 weeks without food, and when asked why she didn't eat, replied, "I don't need food. The devil gives me nourishment." And if that's not enough proof for you, here's a quote from her diary. "My tormentors are always with me. I am completely surrounded. I can see them crawling around me, and they tear me to pieces. I feel myself torn to pieces. My sufferings are unimaginable. The only thing I desire is God, my Savior, Jesus Christ." Things continued to worsen until one day Anneliese was sitting in a chair, and the room began to shake violently. Then out of nowhere, she spoke in a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "Jesus, you want to crucify me? Crucify me. Crucify me." That's when her parents knew they needed help. But who could help them? A priest, of course. So they contacted Father Arnold, who had experience performing exorcisms. He visited Anneliese and prayed over her, and while he didn't witness anything spectacular, he did notice that she seemed relieved after he sprinkled holy water on her. So he agreed to help. Soon he was joined by another priest, Father Richard, and together they conducted the first exorcism on September 14, 1975. But while the priests battled the devil, Anneliese just sat there calmly as they recited the rites. However, the next day during a follow-up session, things changed. As the priest held a crucifix near her face, she recoiled in pain and screamed, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Then the voice returned and spoke through her. "You must leave. Leave, leave, leave. You must go away." So the priests decided to return another day. On October 23rd, Anneliese underwent her third exorcism. By now, she was emaciated, weighing only 68 pounds. And when the priests entered the room, she suddenly lunged forward and bit one of them on the hand. As the other priest held the cross over her, she screamed, "It hurts, it hurts." But as he moved the cross away, she begged him to bring it closer. "Don't go away. Don't go away. Stay here. Stay here." And as the priests prayed, she started speaking in tongues. Then suddenly her eyes rolled back in her head, and she slumped over in her chair. They called an ambulance, but when she regained consciousness, she was back to her old self. And the next day, the doctor said she suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy, and that her bizarre behavior was actually a form of self-harm. But the priests disagreed, insisting Anneliese was possessed by demons. To prove it, they started recording the sessions. And the next time they visited, the voice came back. "Get out, get out, get out." But it wasn't the only voice. Suddenly another one started talking. "We are the spirits, the tormentors of Anneliese. We are here to fight against God. We are here to fight against the Savior." And then yet another one said, "Leave, leave. We demand that you leave." Now this went on for a while, and the priests managed to identify each demon, including Lucifer himself. "Yes, it is I, Lucifer." And Nero, one of the worst Roman emperors, known for his cruelty and debauchery. "Yes, I am Nero." Even Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, made an appearance, although he was never caught on tape. But what about the voices that actually sounded like Anneliese? Well, according to the priests, those were actually the voices of her guardian angel and her dead relatives trying to protect her. And I could keep going, but you get the picture. By now, Anneliese was barely conscious. And on July 1st, 1976, the 67th exorcism took place. But that day, the voice that sounded like Anneliese cried out for mercy. "Oh God, oh Jesus, please help me." But shortly after, she stopped moving. When the priests checked her pulse, it was gone. And despite their efforts, they couldn't revive her. So they called an ambulance. And by the time she was taken to the hospital, she was dead. An autopsy revealed that she died of malnutrition and dehydration. So that raises the question, what happened to Anneliese? Was she possessed by demons, or was this the result of mental illness? Well, her case went on trial, and her parents and the priests were charged with negligent homicide. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Anneliese was severely mentally ill and denied proper medical treatment. And while her family insisted that she was possessed, the judge ruled that she was not. In fact, he stated that there was no evidence of demonic possession in the entire case. So he found her parents and the priests guilty and sentenced them to probation. And that's where the story gets crazier. Despite the ruling, many Catholics still believe that Anneliese was possessed, and the priests successfully cast her out. They point to the recordings as proof. And even today, the case remains controversial. It's been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and movies, including The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So what do you think? Was Anneliese possessed, or was this simply a case of mental illness? Let me know in the comments below. As for me, I find this story terrifying because it blurs the line between science and the supernatural. While there are clearly elements of medical illness present, the idea that something evil may be at work adds a chilling twist. Additionally, the story highlights the potentially dangerous consequences of faith colliding with mental illness. Now it's time for a quick break. But before you go, remember to hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Now, back to our story. The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. The real audio recordings of Anneliese's exorcisms are still available online and are deeply disturbing. The sounds of her tormented cries, the voices of the demons and the priest's desperate attempts to banish them, create an eerie atmosphere that is hard to shake. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out my podcast. In it, I take you into the scariest places on earth and introduce you to the most amazing people, all from the safety of your home. You can listen to one episode every week on YouTube, or join our community for early access to ad-free episodes every Wednesday. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.